Prabhupada ki jai.
His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Islam Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Ananda Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki
Jai.
Go Premananda.
Hari Bol.
All glories to the Son.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the Son.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the Son. Glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Everybody, thank you so much for coming today. So, have the great pleasure of introducing Prabhupada's very dear devotees. Visaka has come from the UK and originally from America, and she joined Srila Prabhupada's party in something like 1972, 1973, maybe 71, even I'm not sure exactly. And basically, ever since then, she's been so powerfully connected with Srila Prabhupada. Her husband, Gadivar, was to Ireland here back in 1982, and he did some filming with some of our festivals then in County Clare, I think it was. And I'd only actually ever seen Visaka through her books, like or through the BTG, some of her photography, some amazing words that she's written, and of course, what she's most famous for is her photography, and of course the film which herself and Yadavar made. But in 2018, I was at the ISKCON Leader Sangha, and Visaka and Malati, two of her stalwart Srila Prabhupada lady disciples, they were giving a talk. And I have to say that during that whole time, that was one of the best talks that I'd heard in all the talks that were given. So ever since then, I was very, very happy to see that she then became the temple president of Bhaktivedanta Manor, which is probably the biggest temple outside of India in the West. So, Jai Haribol. Haribol. So we have the great pleasure of introducing Visaka today, and she's going to talk on another amazing topic about Srila Prabhupada, which is Srila Prabhupada before he came to the West. So thank you, Visaka. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpa Tarudisha, Kripa Sindhu Reja, Patitanam Pavanyo Vaishnaviyo Namo. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much for coming here this evening. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here in your company. Accompanying the beautiful Panchatattva of all of your company, Vaishnavas. So as Manu Prabhu was saying, we wanted to spend a few minutes meditating on Srila Prabhupada's life before he came to America in 1965. So he was born in 1896. So when he reached America, he was 70 years old. So we just want to take a little glimpse of those 70 years prior to his arrival. So this is a verse I picked from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, chapter 7, text number 11. Kale kalera dharma Krishna nama sankirtan. Kale kalera dharma Krishna nama sankirtana. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartana. 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 Would anyone like to try it?
Kali kaler dharma Krishna nama sankirtana.
Kali kalera dharma Krishna nama sankirtana.
Krishna shakti vina nahi tara pravartana.
Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartana.
Kali kalera dharma Krishna nama sankirtana.
Kali kalera dharma Krishna nama sankirtana.
Krishna Sakti Vina Nahi Tara Parvatana.
Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartana.
Kali kalera dharma Krishna nama
Sankirtana. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartana.
Kali kalera.
Kali kalera.
Of this age of Kali.
Of this age of Kali.
Dharma.
Dharma.
The duty.
The duty.
Krishna nama sankirtana.
Krishna nama sankirtana.
Chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna.
Chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna.
Krishna Shakti Vina.
Krishna Shakti Vina.
Without being empowered by Lord Krishna.
Without being empowered by Lord Krishna.
Nahe.
Nahe.
Is not.
Is not.
Tara.
Tara.
Of that.
Of that.
Pravartana.
Pravartana.
Propagation.
Propagation.
Translation. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. Please repeat. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna.
Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement.
So we can understand from this verse that certainly Srila Prabhupada was empowered to propagate the holy name of Krishna, the Sankirtan movement. However, being empowered did not mean that success came to him automatically in that propagation. Rather, it was a great, great struggle for many, many years, as we will see. Success does come, but it comes after great determination and great perseverance. So, Satsvarup Maharaj, as I hope we all know, wrote a wonderful biography about Srila Prabhupada, and he titled the first section, which is Prabhupada's time before he came to India, as a lifetime in preparation. And certainly we can make a case for that description, a lifetime in preparation. But I took a little different angle with this preparation, with this presentation, to say that before he came to America, it was a lifetime of devotion and dedication and determination. So, from his very childhood, we are not informed about Prabhupada's previous birth, but we are quite well informed about his birth in this life. And from his very childhood, he had the great fortune of having a father who he described as a pure devotee of Krishna. And he said at one point that his father's regular daily schedule was that after doing a little shopping in the morning, he would come back and have his breakfast. And then from 10 to 1, he would be engaged in puja. And he would go to his place of business. He sold cloth. He had a cloth shop. And he would do his business from 1 to about 8, taking a break for prasadam. And then from 8 in the evening, throughout the evening, he would do more puja. Prabhupada said practically his business was puja, and his official work was just on the side. And Prabhupada recalls he would be sleeping, as mentioned here. This is a direct quote from Srila Prabhupada. And he would hear his father doing this puja. He would hear the ringing of the bells. And he would wake up and see his father bowing down before the deity of Radha Krishna. So this was imbued very deeply in his consciousness, this idea of worshipping the Supreme Lord. So he dedicates his Krishna book to his father, and he writes, "A pure devotee of Krishna, who raised me as a Krishna-conscious child from the beginning of my life. In my boyhood ages, he instructed me how to play the mridanga. He gave me Radha Krishna Vigraha to worship, and he gave me Jagannath Rath Yatra to duly observe the festival as my childhood play. He was kind to me, and I imbibed from him the ideas later on solidified by my spiritual master, the Eternal Father." So interestingly, Prabhupada says that everything that he taught us, his followers, to do, were introduced to him by his father, except the aspect of translating books, printing books, and distributing books. But all the other activities that we do in the temple and outside the temple, the festivals, were given to him by his father. So this was very much part of his persona. It was imbibed very deeply in his consciousness. He lives originally in Calcutta. He was born in Taligunj. His mother's name was Rajani, and they named him Abhayachiran, which means one who is fearless, having taken shelter at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. So Gormohan Dey had great goals for his son. He wanted his son to be a devotee of Srimati Radharani. And Gormohan Dey had the habit of inviting so-called sadhus, apparent sadhus, to his home. And he would ask them very humbly, "Please pray that my son will become a great devotee of Srimati Radharani." Later on, Prabhupada said that he became very disillusioned by these so-called sadhus, because although they dressed as sadhus and they wanted to be known as sadhus, they did not have the habits of sadhus. It was quite disappointing. So this is from Prabhupada's purport to the first canto, 12th chapter, 30th verse. Prabhupada writes, "Srila Jiva Goswami remarks that any child, if given an impression of the Lord from his very childhood, will certainly become a great devotee of the Lord, like Maharaj Parikshit. One may not be as fortunate as Maharaj Parikshit, who had the opportunity to see the Lord in the womb of his mother, but even if one is not so fortunate, he can be made so if the parents of the child desire him to be so. There is a practical example in my personal life in this connection. My father was a pure devotee of the Lord, And when I was only 4 or 5 years old, my father gave me a couple of forms of Radha and Krishna. In a playful manner, I used to worship these deities along with my sister, and I used to imitate the performances of a neighboring temple of Radha Govinda. By constantly visiting this neighboring temple and copying the ceremonies in connection with my own deities of play, I developed a natural affinity for the Lord. My father used to observe all the ceremonies befitting my position. Later on, these activities were suspended due to my association in the schools and colleges, and I became completely out of practice. But in my youthful days, when I met my spiritual master, Sri Sriman Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, again I revived my old habit, and the same playful deities became my worshipable deities in proper regulation. This was followed up until I left the family connection, and I am pleased that my generous father gave the first impression, which was developed later into regulative devotional service by his divine grace. So here we see how indebted Srila Prabhupada felt towards his father, Gurmohan Dey, and how he attributes so much of his devotion to the influence of his father. So in this way, I think it's very important for us to understand the importance of these foundational years, these childhood years, for making a devotee who is imbued with devotion. Probably Prabhupada was unique in the degree of his devotion, but as he says, that the parents have a great responsibility towards the children from these impressionable years to give them a great taste of Krishna consciousness. Maharaj Prahlad also advised that such impressions of a godly relation must be impregnated from the beginning of childhood. Otherwise, one may miss the opportunity of the human form of life, which is very valuable, although it is temporary, like others. So Prabhupada's sister, Bhavachamini, we had the good fortune of meeting her when Prabhupada came to India with some disciples. She was as devotional as Srila Prabhupada, and they used to play together, worshipping the deities, holding Rathayatra festivals. Prabhupada describes that one of his earliest memories is going in what he called the perambulator. It's like a baby carriage, I think we call it baby carriage. So he would go with a friend, and they would cross the street from their home to visit the Radha Govinda temple, and there he would observe the arti ceremonies going on for Radha Govinda. And he was awestruck at the beauty of the deities with his slanted eyes. If you've seen pictures, they're not very large deities, but they have very traditional slanted eyes, very dancing pose. And Prabhupada would be very captivated by this image. And he and his friend would just observe and observe as small children. So then he writes in another place, in the second canto, 4th chapter, text 1 purport, to become a pure devotee of Krishna, 2 things are very much essential. Not just essential, but very much essential. Namely, having a chance to be born in the family of a devotee, and having the blessings of a bona fide spiritual master. So those of us who are not fortunate to be born in the family of a devotee, we have to work extra hard to make up for that terrible lacking. So when Prabhupada grew up a little bit, it was time for him to go to college. And as we read previously, he gave up his practices in college. He was quite absorbed in his studies, associating with the other students. And as a young man, he was also captured by Gandhi's movement to free India of British rule. He felt that the culture of India was being obscured by foreign rule, and he was, along with tens of thousands of other citizens of India very eager to get rid of this British rule so that India could achieve independence. And we know he had this famous meeting with his spiritual master, where his spiritual master instructed him on the first moment of their meeting. He went with a friend, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, "You are educated young men. You should deliver the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the English-speaking people of the world." This is on the first meeting, the first minutes of the first meeting. And Prabhupada came from a Vaishnava family, clearly, so he was appreciating this pure devotee, this pure Vaishnava, eager to spread the mission of Lord Chaitanya. And at the same time, Prabhupada was absorbed in Gandhi's movement, the independence movement. So they had this argument where Prabhupada said, first, India should become independent of foreign rule, and then other countries may hear the message, the important message that India has to offer to the world. And his spiritual master defeated him soundly, saying that this message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is transcendental to all national conceptions. Rather, it's a message that all people of all countries of the world are in need of. And there's no material reason that this should be stopped. So after this exchange, Prabhupada was very taken by this, and he, within his heart, he accepted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Thakur as his spiritual master from that moment. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote, "There has not been, there will not be, such benefactors of the highest merit as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees have been. The offer of other benefits is only a deception. It is rather a great harm, whereas the benefit done by him and his followers is the truest and greatest eternal benefit. This benefit is not for one particular country, causing mischief to another, but it benefits the whole universe." So his vision and his ability to express that vision was absolutely astounding. Prabhupada deeply appreciated it. And after the first meeting, he was always meditating on this message of his spiritual master and what he could possibly do to fulfill his spiritual master's desire. However, prior to this meeting with his spiritual master in 1922, he was married. And not only was he married, but he had his first child. And so although he wanted to take up this mission immediately, he felt it would be an injustice. He used that word, it would be an injustice to leave his young family at this point. That he was called by duty to support his family as a grihasta. This is an artist's rendition of this first meeting. It's on the rooftop of a building called Uttadonga. Still there in Calcutta. Now the devotees have taken possession of this building, one Uttadonga Road, and they've renovated it so it looks as it looked when Prabhupada went there with his friend. And this was on the rooftop. And Prabhupada is in the foreground on the right, young man in white with a mustache, hearing from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And this went deep into his heart. So he was receptive to this, to the point it was transformed his life because he had been raised in this atmosphere of pure devotion, this atmosphere created by Gaur Mohan De. And from this meeting, that devotion became dedication to the mission and the message of his spiritual master. So here on the left, we see Srila Prabhupada with his family. Behind him is his wife, Radharani Dutt. On his lap is his son. In the center there is his father, very elderly, Gaur Mohan De. Then on the right is his sister, who was widowed. She lived with him. And in her lap is her son. And behind is Prabhupada's nephew and his brother, Krishna Charan. And on the right, the picture was taken in 1930 on the occasion of the passing of Guru Monday. You see his picture there in the center. And as is the tradition in India, Prabhupada and his brother, Krishna Charan, have shaved up on the occasion of the passing of their father. And Prabhupada's 3 children are sitting on the floor in front. So, although Prabhupada was called to join the mission at that time, his sense of duty obliged him to remain as a responsible grihastha for the sake of his children, his wife, and his other dependent relatives. However, he started writing, and in writing he wanted to fulfill this mission of his spiritual master, who in turn was fulfilling the mission of his Param Guru, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was also his father. So Prabhupada became an avid writer, which never stopped. It remained throughout his life, writing his realizations. Sometimes he would see an avenue to publication, and sometimes there would be no such avenue, but the writing always continued. And meanwhile, he was active in his business. He had a pharmaceutical business. He owned a pharmacy, and he would create medicines. This particular one is for gout, rheumatitis, and all pains. So, in 1933, Prabhupada had his pharmaceutical shop in Allahabad, and he was hoping to support the Gaudiya Math in Allahabad. And at that time, he received formal initiation. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote to him, "I have every hope that you can turn yourself into a very good English preacher if you serve the mission to include the novel impression of Lord Chaitanya's teachings to the people in general, as well as philosophers and religionists." So this was just 3 years after Prabhupada was initiated, 1936 December. He received this letter, and it was echoing the same instruction he had received in 1922 at their very first meeting. That Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was very successful in opening Gaudiya Maths throughout India, 64 Gaudiya Maths. But he was very keen on spreading this message throughout the world. And he was asking many of his disciples to take this up. He sent 3 of them to the UK for that reason, at great cost to his mission. They had very limited success. But here he's repeating this to Srila Prabhupada, and this letter was written just a fortnight before he left the planet. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur passed away at the end of December 1936. So Prabhupada was now without his father, who had imbued him with devotion, without his Guru Maharaj, who had taken that devotion and turned it into complete dedication to the mission. Also earlier, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very disappointed with his followers. They had moved from this Ultadanga temple to Bagh Bazaar in Calcutta, a marble temple. Some of the followers of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur were quite wealthy, and they arranged for this very wonderful marble temple. But unfortunately, the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were arguing over which room they would have in this marble temple. And when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati became aware of this, he told Prabhupada, "I would sell the marble to print books if I could." And Prabhupada again imbibed from him the importance of books and book distribution. So this is an illustration, an artist's rendition of this. Conversation occurred in Radhakund, in the Vrindavan area. So not long after that, the World War II exploded in the world. And Srila Prabhupada in 1944, during the war, started this Back to Godhead magazine. He writes, under the circumstances since 1936 up to now, I was simply speculating whether I shall venture this difficult task, and that without any means and capacity. But as none have discouraged me, I have now taken courage to take up the work. So Prabhupada would be writing the articles. Sometimes he would write articles based on the scriptures, like Sri Upanishad. And sometimes he would see news clips and he would develop an article related to the news clip. Sometimes he would hear quotes from famous people, like the Archbishop of Canterbury, who said, people want the kingdom of God without God. And Prabhupada wrote an article in Back to Godhead on that quote. So he would write and create these magazines. He would oversee the printing and pay for the printing for his profits from his pharmaceutical business. And he would personally go and distribute the magazines anywhere that he could, whether influential people or common people. He was constantly trying to preach this message. So this is a quote from Madhavendra Puri. He writes, "Let the sharp moralists accuse me of being illusioned. I do not mind. Experts in Vedic activities may slander me as being misled. Friends and relatives may call me frustrated. My brothers may call me a fool. The wealthy Mammonites may point me out as mad. And the learned philosophers may assert that I am much too proud. Still, my mind does not budge an inch from the determination to serve the lotus feet of Govinda, though I am unable to do it." So as the years went by, Srila Prabhupada became more and more absorbed in preaching and less interested in his business. His children were growing up. His wife was not enthusiastic for preaching. She was a devotee, but she worshipped in the home. And she did not see the validity of trying to spread the message because, according to her background and her understanding, it was enough to worship in the home. So Prabhupada was not supported in his preaching efforts in his family life. His business proved very challenging. There was theft, serious theft in his business and cheating. So gradually he lost taste for this. At one point, he thought he could become very wealthy and use his wealth to spread Krishna consciousness. But he understood that Krishna has other ideas. He went to Jhansi, which is a town in India, on a business trip at one point. And there he also preached the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he found the residents of Jhansi were quite receptive to his message. There was a college there, the students would come to hear him. Prestigious people in the town encouraged him and supported him in his preaching efforts. And so at one point he retired from his business and went to Jhansi to open the League of Devotees. And he put out an advertisement, this is his advertisement, wanted candidates from any nationality to qualify themselves as real Brahmins for preaching the teachings of Bhagavad Gita for all practical purposes throughout the whole world. Deserving candidates will be provided with free boarding and lodging. Apply, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, founder and secretary of the League of Devotees, Bharata Bhavan, Jhansi, UP. So at first he was very encouraged by the reception that he had in Jhansi, and this Bharati Bhavan was a very promising building to make a temple. But then there was some politics, other people wanted the building, and rather than get involved in litigation and arguments, Prabhupada pulled away from Jhansi. And at this time in 1959, he took sannyas. Prior to that, actually, he was in New Delhi. He went back to New Delhi. At this time, he had hardly any money, hardly any support. He had many godbrothers, But they, after the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta, they started their own separate maths. It was no longer a unified Gaudiya math. So each one was preaching in his own small area with very limited resources. So Prabhupada was avidly writing at this time. He would write letters to well-to-do people, he would write letters to politicians, he would write responses to articles that he had read in newspapers. There was a stream, a constant stream of letters going out, trying to gather interest in this mission of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Here he writes, I have got the clue of going back to Godhead just after leaving my present material body, and in order to take along with me all my contemporary men and women of the world, I have started my paper, Back to Godhead, as one of the means to the way. Please don't think of me as something wonderful or a madman when I say that I shall go back to Godhead after leaving my present material body. It is quite possible for everyone and all of us. So this was written to India's president, Mr. Rajendra Prasad. So more often than not, his letters would not get a response. When they did get a response, they would say the people are not interested. If there was some flicker of interest, Prabhupada would respond. But he always held the hope that someone would take it seriously, someone would dialogue with him so he could impress upon them the importance and the validity of this message. And here we see that he's printing, still printing the Back to Godhead magazines, distributing them personally in tea stalls to people who have many other interests, many other pressing concerns. This is a verse that Prabhupada quoted in connection with this part of his life. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Yasyaham Manavrinami Harishye Dadtanam Shanai Tatodanam Tyajati Yasya Svajana Dukkha Dukhitam. The personality of Godhead said, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way he suffers one distress after another. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 88, verse 8. So Prabhupada very much resonated with this because at one time he had been a very prosperous businessman. He had a very well-known pharmaceutical shop in Allahabad. Everyone in the town of Allahabad knew of the shop. He was giving generously to the Gaudiya Math. Then as time went on, he took this vanaprastha and tried his best in Jhansi. It didn't work out. When he left Jhansi, he was really bereft of all support from his family, from his relatives, from his friends, and still determined to preach Krishna consciousness. So we went from the devotion to the dedication, and the devotion and the dedication gave us this unbreakable, iron-like determination in the heart and mind of Srila Prabhupada. So this is a conversation that he had with one Dr. Copeland, who's a professor of modern Indian history in Melbourne. It's a very revealing section of their conversation. Prabhupada says, I was living alone. I had no income, no friend, no shelter. Since I left my home since 1954, I never cared for anyone maintaining me, and there was no resource, fixed income, nothing of the sort. I depended on Krishna. Similarly, in the whole society, we're feeding daily 10,000 men. We've got about 100 centers, and we are maintained, just like European American standard, not vagabond standard, but still, we have no fixed income. Depend on Krishna. If he wants, he will give us food. If he wants, we shall starve. This is Brahmana, practical. And now I have got all degrees, and unless I get a good master, then I'm a street dog. At this point, as Dr. Copeland laughs, that is Sudra. Without getting a master, just like a street dog has no value unless he gets a good master. Then he can bark. And Prabhupada imitates the barking of a dog. Ow, 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 ow. I have got my master. And if he doesn't get a master, nobody cares for it. And he's lean and thin. Here going, that's all. This is Sudra. He has no power to live independently. That is Sudra. So Prabhupada is saying here that when he left his business and became this Vanaprastha, in this Vanaprastha stage, he decided, resolved that he was not going back to his business that had supported him and his family for 30-something years, but rather he was going to depend completely on Krishna. If Krishna sent something, he would use it in his service, and if he didn't, Prabhupada would do without. That was his determination. Fixed determination. And he takes this sannyasa in 1959, and he moves to Vrindavan. He writes, I was sitting alone in Vrindavan, writing. My godbrother insisted to me, Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, you must do it without accepting the renounced order of life. Nobody can become a preacher. So he insisted. Not he insisted, practically my spiritual master insisted. He wanted me to become a preacher, so he forced me through this godbrother. You accept. So unwillingly I accepted. Prabhupada also mentioned that he had several dreams, repeated dreams, that his spiritual master came to him and insisted, now you must take sannyas, you must take sannyas. And Prabhupada responded that this was horrible to him, to leave his family, but he accepted this as the desire of his spiritual master. And in the course of writing and distributing his Back to Godhead magazines, he was told by a librarian, these magazines are very nice, but people read them and throw them away. You should really write books. And so Prabhupada took this also as an instruction, and he resolved to translate the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he began that project with full-hearted enthusiasm, not only writing the translations, translating the verses, writing the purports based on the commentaries of previous acharyas, but he would also oversee the printing, even though he had no means. He would take the work to the printers, it would be typeset. He would do the proofreading, the editing. He would oversee the binding. It was a great, great struggle. Constant endeavor. He calls it a momentous hour of need. And he writes in the first canto, our capacity of presenting the matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail, and there may be so many literary discrepancies in spite of our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this on account of its being an honest attempt for glorifying the Almighty Great, so much now badly needed. So the first canto was printed about 1,000 copies, and Prabhupada would personally take it around Delhi to sell it to schools and universities. He would sell it to the embassies, the various embassies, as a presentation of the culture of India, the best part of the culture of India. So not only was he translating and commenting, editing and proofreading, he would actually buy the paper and take it to the printer. He would oversee the printing and the binding, and then he would distribute the books. And then when he had the 3 volumes completed, he went to Srimati Morarji, and he impressed upon her that he wanted to go to the U.S. to give the message of Lord Chaitanya to the English-speaking people in the United States. And as I hope we all know, she said, Swamiji, you are an old man. You will die on the ship. It is so cold in America. If you get there, you will freeze in America. And he waved it off. He said, I will be fine. You must send me. So she very kindly arranged for him to go aboard the Jaladuta. I planned that I must go to America. Generally they go to London, but I did not want to go to London. I was simply thinking how to go to New York. I was scheming whether I shall go this way through Tokyo, Japan, or that way. Which way is cheaper? That was my proposal. And I was targeting to New York always. Sometimes I was dreaming that I've come to New York. So as we know, he's very elderly at this point. His health is not very good. He knows not a single soul in America. He has hardly any money, and yet he has devotion, he has determination, and he has dedication. And so these things carried him across the ocean. Traumatic events aboard the ship. And then finally he gets to New York after some time in Butler, and he's seeing there's some potential in New York. And he writes to his godbrothers in India about this potential and asks them for men and facilities to help him realize the potential that he's found in New York. And they write back saying, well, we can help you, but first you must join our math. You join our particular Gaudiya math, then we will think about helping you. And Prabhupada writes back, I am not a man to be disappointed. So that is the amazing journey of Srila Prabhupada before he came to the United States. Hare Krishna.
Take some questions.
Perhaps there's some questions or reflections on this journey.
I was just wondering, in one of the slides there, I didn't quite get a chance to take a snap of it, but it talked about praying for your child to be a devotee, regardless of whether they seemed like to want to or had that inclination or not. So I was just wondering, as a mother, I have two children, and one is more inclined than the other to Krishna consciousness. The other one has a very beautiful nature as well, and loves Prasadam. We always say that his path is through his stomach in that way. But I wondered, can you pray, because when we come, Krishna gives independence as well. So to pray in that way, what way would that prayer sound? And what way would it be composed best?
The prayer of the mother for her child, you say?
To become inspired in Krishna consciousness.
Well, I think we can take a hint from Gaur Mohan De, who prayed to the sadhus. We fortunately have genuine sadhus in our association, that please pray to Srimati Radharani that my child will become a devotee of Krishna, Radha Krishna. The prayers of the Vaishnavas are very powerful. And we don't know how they work or when they'll work, but sincere prayers to bona fide sadhus, devotees, are always welcome. They will have their effect sooner or later.
Maybe I can ask you to pray.
So many.
All of the Vaishnavas.
The recording you see on the table there was presented by Ramananda Swami, who was the teacher at the time. And one day he passed along a shop, electrical shop, and he went in, and the gentleman spent 1 hour trying to show him how to use it. and he explained about the dictaphones that are used by doctors and lawyers to record the cases. And when he took his Prabhupada, within minutes he knew how to use it. He had that advanced knowledge about it. And it made life easier for him to be able to dictate, and then all they had to do is print it or type it out and print it. It's faster to produce books. From the teacher. And he said, should I leave teaching? He said, no, you keep teaching, but we need the money.
Yeah. I remember that. I think it may have been Brahmananda's brother, Gargamuni. And he was ready after he heard the instructions how to use the dictaphone for an hour from the seller of the dictaphone. He was ready to instruct Prabhupada, who came from a village in India, he thought. And Prabhupada immediately knew how to use it. And Gargamuni was astonished when Prabhupada picked it up without any instruction.
Can we please move? There are people waiting in the stairs.
I just have one question about when we can see Prabhupada's determination all just before he came to the West in that sense. And then when you came to Krishna consciousness, it had already started kind of to expand. Did it expand an awful lot after you joined? And what did that look like and how did that feel at that time?
Yeah, it was quite amazing because at that time we didn't have internet.
Didn't have internet here.
Right, so we didn't have email. And I've traveled with Prabhupada for almost 6 years, and I only saw him speak on the telephone once.
Really?
He didn't actually like to use the telephone. In India, there was a long delay before you could get a phone. You had to be on a waiting list, So when he came to New York, he could get a phone in a few days. So he thought this was quite amazing. So he got this phone, and then someone called him at midnight and said, he picked up the phone, it was ringing and ringing. He picked up the phone, he said, hello. And the person said, Swamiji, how are you? So then he said, I don't want the phone. Just a botheration. So,
Because they are saying they are not able to hear.
okay. Is it too loud, maybe?
Very less.
Very low.
Yeah, very low.
Yeah, so I only saw him speak on the phone once. Yeah, so he'd like to do everything by writing, because then there was a record of it. He would receive a letter, there'd be a record, he'd write the letter, there'd be a record of it. So it was quite amazing, and he never appeared rushed. Everything was quite paced out. And he was so regulated every day. He got his exercise, he got the diet that he wanted. He translated for hours every day. And here he is initiating thousands of people, opening over 100 temples. It was extraordinary, just really extraordinary. It was like a blossoming of a flower. It was so beautiful.
Were there any highlights? Because you were traveling with him for 6 years. That's such a rare opportunity.
On and off, not continuous.
Yeah. Can you speak on any more of the times that you found that were very astounding to be with such a person in that situation? I mean, there must have been many.
Well, I guess just Prabhupada's regularity and his absorption in the scriptures. There would be so many problems going on. We were speaking yesterday, Prabhupada would get these letters. His disciples would have personal problems with their mind, with their senses. They would have relationship problems with their godbrothers, their godsisters. They would have problems with their parents, disowning them, being angry at them for being devotees. They would have problems with the city that they were in, legal problems. I mean, it was just, they would practically write to him because they had problems. And Prabhupada would have all this on his head, and yet every day he would be absorbed in translating, absorbed in speaking the Shastra, giving Krishna conscious instructions to his followers who were with him, introducing the guests that came to Krishna consciousness. So he remained unaffected. and constantly directing his disciples how to deal with these problems in a transcendental way, a spiritual way. So, just so fixed. Again, I attribute it to this devotion, dedication, determination that carried him through, so he could be like this lotus. He is in the water but untouched by the water, in the material world but untouched by its vicissitudes.
And then you also had a lot of devotees who were with you. I think Yamuna was with you some of the times, and it must have been extraordinary being with those devotees, because when we read about them, they're just completely dedicated as well to Prabhupada. They just seemed to just dedicate everything, and nothing held them back, and they were just ready to do anything.
Yeah, it's very true. That Prabhupada came at a unique time in American history, where there was so much dissatisfaction among the youth. I mean, as we mentioned, World War II was there. Americans were sent overseas in huge numbers. Finally, when the war ended, they came back and settled down, had families. And so the children of those families were the children of the 60s who were of age at that time. And they saw their parents live in comfort, but had no genuine spiritual life. You know, empty lives, just working, making money, spending money. Nothing of substance, nothing of value, these young people felt. And so they had a generation looking, searching for reality, searching for truth, searching for the purpose of life, sincerely searching. Unfortunately, without guidance, they turned to sex and drugs, licentiousness. But when Prabhupada came with this message, then they turned to him. And they were ready to give up everything, because they saw, again, in their example of their parents, it was like sand through the fingers. There was nothing there to actually hold on to as something you want to live for. And so when they had Prabhupada's message, that was something they wanted to live for. They found that motivated them to surrender everything to him.
How have you found it since? We know that Prabhupada has never left us, and we can think that he's still organizing the movement. But how do you see us kind of going forward in that light? Because we have had different difficulties along the way as well. Have you got any kind of message for us in that sense, how we should? I mean, that message is amazing, what you're talking about with Prabhupada, with dedication, determination, that we should follow him that way. Do you see us making more, as the temple president in Bhaktivedanta Manor, I'm sure you see expansion there as well, but how do you think it will go for us in the Krishna consciousness movement in the years ahead?
Well, as far as how it will go for us in the Krishna consciousness movement, I think it's up to us. It's our movement. So what it means to me is that each one of us has a responsibility to try to really absorb ourselves in Prabhupada's teachings, and especially in his mood, in his spirit of imbibing those teachings, living the teachings, giving the teachings. And he was very strict. And he expected those who took vows of initiation to follow the vows. But he also had tremendous flexibility, because he saw the very difficult circumstances that his followers came from. And so, in that way, he was forgiving and understanding. So within ourselves, we should try to be as staunchly following as we possibly can, as strict with ourselves as we can be, but as far as with others, there should be love and compassion and leniency and understanding. Otherwise, we can turn people away who would become wonderful devotees. You know? So, really to dedicate ourselves to understanding how Prabhupada lived these teachings. We can read his books and perhaps misunderstand, see him as much more authoritarian than he actually was. He was a great friend, like a father, and a mother as well, had the loving heart of a mother. So many things were wrapped up in him, the way he gave Krishna consciousness to us. And in that way, living in that way, we can make a very wonderful contribution to his movement. And to become a little introspective and I think a little honest with ourselves. If we want power and position, we want money, these things are very common aspirations in the material world. So be powerful for Krishna. Make money and give the money to Krishna. And just be honest, not to hide, pretend we don't want these things. Pretense is not advantageous.
May I ask a question? When you were traveling with Srila Prabhupada, did he ever give you any personal instruction about Mangalarti, going for Mangalarti? I find it sometimes difficult, and I've heard that Srila Prabhupada didn't go to Mangalarti himself. So my mind has very lot of list of excuses. Prabhupada didn't go. So I'm just wondering if you had any personal instruction or any inspiration to help me to go.
Sometimes Prabhupada didn't go, but sometimes he went. My husband gives a presentation, photographs that he took of Srila Prabhupada, and when they were traveling in India, they would have Mangal Arti in Prabhupada's rooms to the deities that Prabhupada was worshipping. And all the devotees would go. And the picture that he shows, Jamuna Devi is leading, and Prabhupada is sitting and joining in the chorus as Jamuna leads. But then on the other hand, he told his servant at one point, he was ringing the bell, it was 4:45, the servant didn't come. And when Prabhupada finally saw the servant, Shrutikirti Prabhu, he said, "Where were you?" And he said, "I was in Mangalarti." And Prabhupada said, "No, you're my servant. You shouldn't be in Mangalarti. You should be..." So in that way, he did want us to be regulated, that if we have some bona fide reason, it's not that we should feel excommunicated because we didn't go to Mangalarti. We have to balance it in our own minds. We don't want to be so rigid that we become hard-hearted. And we don't want to become so lax that we're lazy. So it's between those two. You have to find some kind of middle ground.
That's helpful.
Thank you.
In one of the slides it said it's essential to have to be born into a Krishna conscious family.
Very much essential.
And to have a guru's blessing or a guru. And then I was going to ask about that, but you just mentioned that Prabhupada understood the background that his disciples were coming from and their shortcomings, and he allowed for that. He was understanding of the fact that they come from sinful backgrounds. So I often wonder, does Krishna give special dispensation, because in that situation it's more difficult for a person than that, and you see some people coming and it just seems they just float along, everything's so easy, whereas sometimes with difficulties there's roadblocks here and there. So Krishna understands all that, and hoping and special dispensation, that's why
Certainly Krishna sees the sincerity in the heart, and he responds to the sincerity, whatever the background. We can overcome the unfavorable background just by sincerely applying ourselves to the process. I mean, there's a huge advantage to be brought up in a devotional family, but if that's lacking, that can be entirely compensated by the potency and the power of Krishna, simply surrendering, and he will deliver us from all sinful reactions. That's his promise.
Mataji, just wanted to know if Prabhupada ji would have spread message as a grihastha
what difference did it make when his Guru Maharaj asked him to take up sannyasa and kept on appearing in his dreams and instructed that you have to take up sannyasa for spreading Krishna consciousness? Why was it so particular in his case that he had to take up sannyasa?
Well, in the traditional system, then the sannyasi becomes socially dead, a social death. So it means that he turns away entirely from that part of his life and devotes himself 100% to preaching Krishna consciousness. And so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was very keen that Prabhupada take that step and just become 100% devoted to the mission with no attachments to the previous life that he had. When we went back to Calcutta, Prabhupada opened a temple there, Radha Govinda temple, and many of Prabhupada's old friends would come, his sister would come, and Prabhupada said at one point he didn't like going to Calcutta because of this, and he went like this. Skin disease, because of he had relatives there and friends there, they were all coming. They weren't coming to hear Krishna Katha, they were coming to talk about the times they had together. So yeah, he was interested in giving Krishna Katha. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your attention.
One more question. Any more
One
questions?
more question from there.
So if I'm at this point. Prabhupada used to also advise people to get married. He would tell us some, depending on the situation. And once he got married, got a couple married, and they didn't have where to stay. So he said, don't worry, I'm going away for 6 months. You can use my room. So they stayed in, the couple stayed in his room. The 6 months that he was away.
Where was that?
I'm not sure whether in Los Angeles or is it New York. I'm not one of the temple.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Visaka Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So let's give a big Hare Krishna Mahamantra for Mataji, just to pay obeisances to Mataji for her wonderful class. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna, on behalf of ISKCON Dublin, I would like to thank you all as well and welcome for our this week's Sunday Love Feast program. I think we all can come more in because maybe a few more people are waiting outside, and it would be better if we open this other door as well. The other door at Mataji's side. So we can remain seated. I have two announcements. Haribol, you can remain seated. Haribol, come inside and face Shishi Panchatattva. We can come inside and face Panchatattva. We will be having Damodar Ashtakam recitation. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, please remain seated here. Aarti will be done after Damodar Ashtakam. Please remain seated. Please remain seated. Mataji's, please do chit chat later. Haribol, come inside and have a seat. So now we will be having Damodar Ashtakam prayers. So as most of us know, Haribol, Mataji's, please. So we will be having Damodar Ashtakam prayers. Please collect this so that you all can recite as well. Currently, that's the time of Kartik month, which is also called as Damodar month. We should offer ghee lamp. So after Damodar Ashtakam, you all will be given a ghee lamp to offer to Krishna. You can come in front one by one and offer the ghee lamp, and then we will be having Aarti and Prasad. So please bear with us while doing ghee lamp offering. Come one by one and do that.
प्रसिद्ध माता जी प्रची वो राधे गोविंदा press.
I would like to thank our today's sponsor for the prasad, Rumika Mataji. So we can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra together for Rumika Mataji and her family. Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare.
And now Sundarita Prabhu for conversation.
आकाश प्रभु थोड़ा साइड हो जाएंगे. हरी हरी. नहीं छोड़ो छोड़ो.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Rama Rama.
Rama
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Shri Damodar Kartik Maas ki
Jai.
Shri Damodar Kartik Maas ki Jai. Lakshmana Damodar ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai.
आप लोग अभी शुरू कर देना बोला जैसे ही शुरू करेंगे यू कैन कम वन बाय वन डू प्रभु शुरू कर देना प्रॉब्लम कह रही है अभी कर लो पहले साथ के साथ
Hare
You can stand for Gaur Aarti, and Manu Prabhu will be leading the Aarti. Hare Krishna. So now we will be having Gaur Aarti. I would like to thank Atul Bhu and his family for sponsoring and making all the ghee lamps for whole month of Kartik. Hare Krishna Mahamandi together for his whole family. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare. Every year they do for Kartik month for everyone. For Jagannath Rath Yatra, for Janmashtami or any other festival, whenever it required, Prabhu and his family always makes this ghee lamps for all the devotees. Hare. So yeah, so we all can do this lamp offering at our homes every day, every evening for Lord Yashoda Damodar. So you can download the picture from internet, Yashoda Damodar. So you can download the picture and offer the lamp to them. You can take print out. You can see the picture which we have on the altar. And then you can offer the lamp every evening. And you can recite this Damodar Ashtakam. It's very powerful and gives 1,000 time benefits in this month, holy month of Damodar month, Kartik month. So if you offer one lamp, it will count as 1,000 lamps. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Jaya
dancing. And you know what? I'll share one small story. There was one mouse. He wanted to eat one ghee wick, which was lit just in front of Krishna. So what happened? When he came close, his mustache got burned, and he was, trembling because of that burn. And Krishna took it as a dance and offering ghee lamp. You all offered ghee lamp, but you are not dancing. And you know what? Mouse got in next life he became king of very big kingdom. So Krishna is so generous in Kartik in Damodar month. If we will dance just for 1 minute, he can give anything. We don't want to be king, but we want what? His eternal service. Who want eternal service? They want eternal service in this material world, I think, of their bosses. Very well. So we want eternal service for our ultimate boss. Hare Krishna. So one more time on it. 1, 2, 3, go. Hare Krishna. After this, we have kheer, we have puri, we have salad, and you know what? One more thing, very special. We have cake as well. So let's dance and make space in our stomach. Haribol!
Shishimana Samai Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Iskan Pranacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Guna Vaishnava Ki. Go Premanande! All glories to the seven devotees, all glories to the seven devotees, all glories to the seven devotees, all glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. So before Shani sings the Namaste first, just have a very quick announcement. We have some books that are sponsored, the Bhagavad Gitas, and they are available at the amazing price still at €5 each. And if anybody buys a Bhagavad Gita, 50% of that Lakshmi goes towards building towards getting land for us to build a new temple. So it's very important that people can take the Bhagavad Gitas for €5 and then actually bring them home, give them as a gift, even if you have it yourself, give them out as gifts. And 50% of that Lakshmi actually goes towards this land which we're proposing to purchase. We're trying hard actually to find a place which will give us permission. This is very difficult. It's just outside Dublin, and we have one place in mind at the moment. So to date we have collected €134,002, but we need to get it up much higher for us to get this place. So I'll be downstairs anyway with the card machine. If anyone wants to give a donation towards the project or for Bhagavad Gitas, please do. I'll have them there anyway. I'll be downstairs. And again, thank you everybody for coming today. And so Shan is going to sing Namaste prayers, and then we go down from Sharon.
75 euros from the big amount for that land.
Oh,
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasingaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Sorry, yeah. Lila Sankara Nakala. Yato Yato Yamika Sona. Kamalavare.
So requesting all those who haven't done this lamp offering, we still have few lamps. So you can get this opportunity, you can come in front and offer the ghee lamp, which is very auspicious in this month of Kartik. So every day at 6:30 p.m. from Monday to Saturday, because Sunday we have this special program. So Monday to Saturday at 6:30 p.m. we are observing this Kartik special program, which is Damodar Ashtakam prayers and lamp offering. So you all are welcome. So you can join and pop in every day from 6:30 p.m. And coming 2nd November, we will be celebrating Godhead Puja. Giriraj Godhead ki
Jai!
So you all are welcome and invited in advance. So we will be celebrating in the evening of Saturday, 2nd of November. Also, for all those who are new and wants to explore more about Bhagavad Gita and devotional life and other queries like why God, which God, what God, and different type of queries, we just started new course called as Bhakti Pravesh and Journey of Self-Discovery. So you can contact me if you want to learn more about Bhagavad Gita, get this course done, you can contact me. Hare Krishna. It's free of cost and it's online, just 2 days in a month. It's in temple. So you can meet new people, you can have discussion with them, you can have prasad with them. So if you are interested for this free course, although it has some cost, but we made it free for our temple guests. So you are special people. Hare Krishna. So you can register yourself. You can contact me if you want to join this course. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Now we have prasad in the restaurant downstairs. Kindly help us to keep restaurant clean. Please don't leave your plates or spoon or anything here and there, and try to keep the table clean as much as you can, or you can clean afterwards with tissue paper. Hare Krishna.
Mahaprasade Govinde Mama Brahmani Vaishnave Kalpa Punya Padam Rajan Vishwasunaiva Jayate Sharira Vidya Cha